Yo, guitar lesson here for you. This one's a little bit of a kind of more of music philosophy, I guess. Guitar philosophy. And that is just this kind of idea of, it's kind of a couple things. As you're learning as a guitar player and as you're getting better, there's so many different avenues you could be looking at or learning or focusing on. And there's this idea that I've kind of stumbled across, and I just call it kind of organic growth. So I've seen and witnessed a lot of students that are really inspired to learn and really gung-ho to learn something. For example, I taught at a music school for a long time. And there was a kind of a loose curriculum there. And in order to get into one of the rock bands, you had to memorize all the major scale patterns, right? They had them split up into 5 shapes. And if you learned all 5 shapes, then you got to, you memorized them, you played them, you auditioned, you got to join the band. The fascinating thing is, out of all my students, after they learned the 5 shapes, I don't know if any of them retained any of the information. So, in other words, this is what I mean by organic growth. You want to learn things that are practical, that you can use, that you actually want to learn, rather than just learning things for, I don't know, maybe you're just trying to keep up with the Joneses or something, or maybe you just think you should know this stuff, or you think you should know more. It's not really going to stick unless you have a reason to learn it. So, for example, in my own playing, I know I studied jazz for a long time, and, jazz really helped me play changes. And as I studied that and understand harmony, in a deeper way, and I got a lot out of that. But I remember for a long time, people talking about secondary dominance, tritone substitutions, and things of that nature. And I thought I was supposed to know it, and I would learn some of it, but it never really stuck. I just didn't quite get it. And then only recently did I actually understand it over the past couple of years, where I was like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, because I was kind of at the point where I was, of my understanding of music theory and my understanding of writing music and why certain chords sound good and why certain chords are added to the key. It got to a point where I actually wanted to know rather than just thinking I should know. And so wherever you are as far as your guitar playing goes, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, there is a natural step forward. And it's going to be more, you might have a blind spot. It might be something you need to know that you just don't know, that will help you in your playing. So that's possible. But a lot of times, if you're not craving the information, in other words, if you really don't want to understand, you're not going to really remember anything you learn on the instrument unless you're using it and you're utilizing it. So just kind of riffing on that, thinking out loud, because I've seen this happen a lot with my students. And if you're learning the pentatonic shape, maybe you've got this shape down, and then you want to learn another shape. Well, you better have this shape down, and you better have milked it for all it's worth. In other words, why do you want to learn another shape? If it's organic, it's going to be because you're running out of ideas. Or maybe you're running into like, oh, I want to say something higher on the fretboard. I'm jamming, but I just can't quite, I don't know the next shape. That's when you should be learning the next shape. If you learn the first shape on Tuesday, and then it's Wednesday and you want to learn the second shape, probably not a good idea. You probably need to spend more time with the first shape. So anyway, this is just kind of like I said, more of like a little guitar philosophy lesson here today. Just wanted to throw that out there. And let me know what you guys think about that. And if there are, maybe you have any questions, maybe what you should be looking into, hit me up on the comments. Ask me about what you're trying to learn. And if it's not sticking, maybe there's a whole, group of information you just haven't learned yet. That's why it's not sticking. Like I had a student, one other example here. I had a student the other day that wanted to know how do you know? I think we were looking at a song and there was like a D and an A chord and a G chord. He's like, how do you know that's in the key of D? And I basically was just like, well, have you memorized your major scales? No. So if you're trying to figure out, you want to know like all the chords in a certain key and you want to be able to pick that information up quick, and you haven't actually studied the major scale at all or learned the major scales, it's going to be, that information is just going to be really hard to retain. So, that's another example. That's being maybe a little too far down the road and not having everything foundational figured out yet. So anyway, hope this helps. Peace.